Hello, hello. Okay, we've landed back in Mexico. Happy episode 16th. This is the Daily with Akeisha. You're watching here on YouTube or you're listening to the podcast. Thank you for so much for being here. My name is Akeisha. I am chatting every day about what is coming up for me, what I'm currently working on in my life, where we're up to abroad, what the daily life is like, what's going on in my brain, how are my businesses going, how is life transpiring for me throughout this entire year of 2023. I am showing up and sharing and discussing, and was watching Brené Brown's Call to Courage, her talk on Netflix. It was all about vulnerability. If you've ever watched it, if you've ever seen her TED talk on vulnerability, it is a topic that I I made a video on this, and it's a topic that definitely is being really prominent in my life. Is like, how do I actually get comfortable with being vulnerable and the uncomfortability of that and the risk and the uncertainty that being vulnerable requires, and it's a process in order to create better connections, in order to really share and put myself out there. And then there's this, um, she says in her video, I was watching it on the plane today, and it was all like this. The quote was just all about like taking risk in your life, like getting in the arena, getting dirty, getting your ass kicked occasionally, and just being in the arena of your life. And I love this quote. She says, is like, if you aren't in the arena and getting your ass kicked occasionally, then I'm not interested or open to feedback on my life. And I just, that like rang so clear for me when we were like on the plane, because it's like, even just doing this comes up of like, well, the expectations, what do people think, what's coming, am I going to get feedback? And it's really not about anybody but building connections, and it's about the people I get to build connections with, and it's about who I get to become in the process. And that's very vulnerable, and unless you're another person doing it, right? Like, unless you are being courageous in your own life and living it and being in the arena, um you know don't take advice from anyone, don't take criticism from anyone that's not also doing what you're aspiring to. And then also be selective of who you take things from. So just like, I don't know why I just like jumped right into that, but that was like very, it's kind of like the last thing like I intaked before getting off the plane. So yeah, quick catch up. We went to Canada for a hot 30 some odd hours. We told very few people. I got to surprise my cousin. We saw some friends, we saw some family, and then we had just a great time getting shit done and picking up a few things that we wanted to bring down back with us. The flights were great. And then we landed home. We walked into the apartment, and I just hear like Clayton go like, "Ah, shit." And we're like, "What?" Our apartment that we're supposed to be moving into in 2 weeks. Like, this is the apartment that's, like, kinda starting us fresh. We've bought a whole bunch of things knowing that we needed to upgrade a lot of, like, the kitchen stuff and whatnot to be in alignment with our values and our vision for our life and whatnot. We got a message saying that our apartment was going to be under construction and they wouldn't be able to get us back into our apartment until like middle of March, possibly end of March. So we're like, uh, literally, we get on a plane tomorrow to go to Cancun and we come back and we have 4 days. So we don't really have time to like go look for a new apartment. But you read the message a little bit further, they're willing to like put us up and house us for that time, because we've technically paid our first month. So they're like, well, if you can stay in the building, that's great. So it's all going to work out. But, you know, one reaction just could have been like, throw a fit, right? Like, what is happening? And then, but I immediately went to like, what else is possible? It's an access tool. It's like, what else is possible? This is going to work out for us. Maybe this is a blessing in disguise. Who knows, right? Like, it's not the most ideal because we're not in town. And then we do get back to town. We've got such short few days to get our shit together to move into, like, presumably our new place. So we had a really tight turnaround, and they're telling us literally the night before, we get on a plane, and they're like, they wanna talk to us tomorrow, but, like, we can't talk past, like, 10:30 in the morning really, because 'cause we're gonna be in the airport, and service is sketchy, and you don't know how long you're in the lineup for, and it just becomes, like, a mess of trying to schedule things. So we're like, "Okay, like, it's all gonna work out for us." We have some time, that next day when we land, and that next day to kinda sort some things out. So if we need to be on a phone call with the property managers, like, not the end of the world. It's, language is a barrier, and, like, making sure details aren't, miscommunicated is definitely something. But I just keep going back to that question of, like, what else is possible, and everything comes to me with ease, joy, and glory. And I've been, saying the mantra a lot recently, like, just throughout the day. And so when you get into these situations, they become less reactionary, and you can just kind of approach them with this, like, neutrality of, like, okay, cool, not the best situation, but, like, we are kind of like, we can handle this. This isn't the end of the world. They're being really accommodating. How does it get better than that? And just kind of be in that space. So that's, like, a really quick update of what is happening literally in the last 2 hours. Very, very excited to go to Cancun. Very excited to see my friend. Very excited to take you, if you follow me on social media, take you on the trip. Very excited to go see some cenotes and some ruins. It's going to be my first time in Mexico where I get to see ruins, and they're everywhere in Mexico. Mexico is just, there's so many ruins in people's properties that they don't even know about, and hidden in the jungle and hidden under things. It's just really cool. So to get a glimpse of some of that, and that history, and the energy of that, I'm very excited. And just to have some, like, fun on the Caribbean side. It'll be my first time on that side and in that part of the world, which I'm very excited for. White sandy beaches, can't go wrong. See some other friends. So that's coming up. But what I titled this conversation is, "What's health for you?" This was something that came up for me so strong this morning. And you know what? I'm going to be honest, I could have gotten on live on, like, Instagram and had this conversation in the airport. I was very tempted to, just to kind of, like, get it out of my brain, but I wanted to save it for this. And going live on my phone on YouTube just isn't, it's just not the easiest thing in my world to do. So I much prefer going in on a desktop, and then I can use my phone to record it for the uh, podcast version. So it's just a lot easier and smoother. But so I had this conversation in my own head and with Clayton also about what a health, like, what is health and what is wellness, and being in that industry, but being around other people and being subject to so many things, it can get very overwhelming. And I was picking up on a lot of, like, um, am I doing it right? How do I measure my health and wellness? What do I do? What do I don't do? Where do I start? It's this, like, massive question. And I dabble in so many things now. And for me, it's become this, like, flow of what feels right for me in the moment and what I'm aligned with. And what I was aligned with 4 years ago, I don't really do anymore. It doesn't really interest me, but it is something that I dove in quite consistently, which helped me shift and change and move. So how do I even measure my own health and wellness? Like, what is that bigger picture? How does that play out in my life? So I just wanted to I was just having a conversation with myself, and then, getting curious about what that means for you, those of you who are listening or watching. Like, how how do you cultivate that awareness in you, and where does one start? And to be completely open and transparent, like, I don't have those answers per se. I'm not a physician in any sort. I'm not a certified nutritionist. But what I am somebody is I am someone who lives a lifestyle and has seen people go through lifestyle changes and knows that eating certain foods benefit me and certain foods hurt me, even if they seem good. When you look at the bigger picture of them, they can actually do more damage to your body when done a lot. So, and that's not alcohol, that's a whole other subject. But it's like certain foods like soy, like tofu. It's that conversation of, well, it's healthy because it's vegan, but that doesn't mean that it's healthy for you, because if you're eating a lot of soy, you're eating a lot of things that are going to interrupt your estrogen levels and your endocrine systems, and that's going to fuck you up in more ways than one. And so these conversations start happening in my world, and I see people in my industry, like Arbonne is a company that, promotes health and wellness inside and out. It's all about, fueling your body, having a better relationship with food, understanding what's working for you, taking down the inflammatory, like taking down the inflammation in your body through taking out certain foods, meditating, getting into yoga practices, becoming a healthier, stronger, more connected person inside and out. So, like moving your body daily, practicing, healthier habits for the mind, like being in that positive, abundant, attracting mindset is something that, is embedded into my business, embedded into my industry, embedded into the company that I work for and I represent. And then it's also embedded into me as a person and how I've grown up and how I've evolved. But I'm not somebody who's like, oh, I'm like into yoga and I do yoga every day and therefore I teach that. Or I am, I'm into stretching, but I don't teach stretch classes. Or I'm into meditation and I meditate every day. And like that's something that I would prescribe for somebody to like not break. I'm not somebody who also like really sticks with challenges too much, because my day is always changing and I'm really trying to build for my life and emulate for other people that if you're in flow of all these things, you can pick and choose what's like what you're being called to. And there's certain tools that you can just keep running throughout your whole day that create awareness and a healthy mind and a healthy body, and you're releasing your emotions. But there is value in diving into things when you're not used to them. So, like when you're not used to yoga, make it a consistent practice. When you're not used to meditating, make it a consistent practice. Instead of doing meditations, like sit down meditations per se, in like more of a traditional sense, I do energy pulls, like access consciousness energy pulls. I use those tools and those thought processes to get into a state that's light and freeing and expansive and energizing and downloading information and awareness. I'll do that. But I also love taking a breath work class when I'm feeling like I've got some like deeper things to work through and I want to tune in a bit deeper. I'll take a breath work class. And then I'll stretch when I feel I need to stretch. But I will say, like, I did yoga for a whole year, almost, 3 times a week. And then I was meditating all the time, 15 minutes every day for months. And I would do that in kind of chunks. And for me, it helped me shift and change and evolve into where I am now, which I said is like everything is flowing. And so I kind of am saying all of this, just trying to maybe understand how I can then emulate that to people, because I'm also like, I just eat better foods. Like I don't have cereal in the house. I don't have, applesauce in packages. I don't have those like high sugared processed foods. I don't like eating products that are made to look like other things. Like again, you're from my point of view, from my interesting point of view, eat an egg. Don't not eat an egg and then go eat a whole bunch of processed food that is made to look like an egg and taste like an egg. Like, even if it's, you know, there's not a whole, it's just like, just kind of eat the egg, right? Get all the essential amino acids, get all the um, nutritious value out of that. Don't subject yourself to processed foods in the name of something. So I mean, I'm picking on that one industry, but it's a way of kind of bringing in health and wellness into the conversation, because I think health and wellness at the end of the day is, what are you choosing? Do you have ownership? Are you being responsible? Are you 100, do you understand you're 100% responsible? Are you releasing trapped emotions so that you aren't getting these illnesses? Are you seeking alternatives that are empowering? Like, I had that conversation about empowered health. Are you on a bunch of things? Are you being active in a way that is interesting and entertaining and joyful for you? Are you able to pick up things in a more, supportive position? Do you get pain? Are you constantly burnt out at the day? What's your skin saying? Like, these are all questions that all, when you start to ask them and actually make choices, are super empowering, but require you to take ownership. And I think for a lot of people, that can be quite nerve wracking, and that feeling of overwhelmed. And then you kind of turtle. And to recognize that you have the power to change everything. You can just start with one thing and go from there. You can start, um, just meditating every day and seeing how that leads to a better mood or better, different choices. Everyone says just like, make one choice. Every time you have like, what am I going to eat? Choose differently. Choose towards what's going to better you in the future. So, what is health and wellness for all of us is a question that is so unique to all of us. And I think there's great teachers out there. Um, and I guess what I'm saying is, no, you don't have to do it one way. And no, you don't have to just stick with one thing. Like, I stick with the access tools for my mind and releasing of energies and making sure I'm not taking on people's emotions that are then going to create health problems and body issues for me down the road. Like, there's so much research in like epigenetics and how we emotions are trapped to everything, and then when you release those emotions, people's like health starts changing. There's so much data and research and testimonies of things like that. So like, doing the work, your own personal work of healing, is going to create more health and wellness for you. And in that is a whole array of options, and just pick one that's right for you in every moment. And if you're like, oh, I think I'm interested in this, like, just follow that, like, knowing that intuition, that, curiosity. Like, my stretch therapist, oh, so glad I got a stretch from him when I was in Canada, but he started getting into like, you know, how we're thinking and what we're choosing and what we're putting out there, because he was having conversations with me, which led to me doing a little bit of bars on him, which led to him taking a bars class, which led him to go take his level 3 in FST, which introduced him to breath work, which really changed some things for him. And now he's interested in taking more breath work sessions, and then working with people who incorporate breath work and stretch together, and then continuing with his like bars, so that he is, clearing out things and also getting the benefits of that and like mixing that all in. So it's just like this path that just kind of gets opened up when you start to look into what health and wellness looks for you, and be inspired by people and the things that they do, and getting curious how it's going to be for them. So I'm running out of time here. That was a lot. I feel like I was all over the place, but it was a conversation that was just like so prominent in my world this morning that I just didn't want to like let it go. I wanted to, flush it out. So I'd be curious to know. I am curious to know what health and wellness is for you, so drop it in the comments, and I will see you guys tomorrow morning before I get on the plane. I'll pop on here, and I'll take you along with me to Cancun, and follow me on the socials. Everything is in the comment or the description below, and if you wanna support, this channel, you can find out ways to support the channel also in the comment or in the description. Okay, have a fantastic day whenever you're watching this, wherever you're watching this. Peace out, everybody.